What's going on YouTube? John and Tony, just coming off of flying the Freewing F5 that you guys probably saw earlier. And now we are working with the E-flite Turbo Timber Evolution. This is a plane that I got on demo from Hangar 18 Hobbies here in beautiful Cary, North Carolina. We're going to be flying this this model on a Z2200 120C pack that has been used extensively, but it should be able to put out the amps that we're going to need to make this thing fly well. I heard a fellow in my comment section earlier was talking about getting a landing tutorial for timbers. And I've realized there's not really a whole lot of content out there on this subject. There's a lot of conjecture, like how come timber gears suck? How come they always break? And honestly, that's just a lot of the time when these gear break, and these are upgraded gear, by the way. When gear break on models, it's because you hit the ground too hard most of the time. Sometimes there's an issue with these models where maybe you didn't hit the ground too hard, maybe the strut really is just that weak. The E-flite F16 comes to mind. That is a model with a persistent issue when it comes to gear. But this model has really robust gear. Even the original Turbo Timber and the original Timber both had really robust gear. And I have smacked them into the ground like meteors before coming out of flat spins, and they still survived. So let's go ahead and I'll show you guys the techniques and the theories and everything behind getting these things to land well, especially now that we've been blessed with very little wind. So let me go ahead and make sure that the chest cam here is actually pointed at the screen and we can get going. Let's get on the mains.
Flaps up.
And turn it around. This is a great little model, guys. It is easily one of the best high wing bush planes you can get. Also has a very responsive rudder.
Full flaps.
Okay, coming in with full flaps here. You can do two-wheel landings pretty easily.
30 seconds.
You can bounce them like
Flaps
that.
up.
3 for 1.
Got a 3 for 1 for sure, yeah. You can bounce them like that and the plane will be okay, but if you want them to be more reliable and good, one of the things you need to do is practice actually pushing the nose down. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but you need to keep the nose
Full flaps.
planted into the ground with some elevator pressure. Got some wind shear out here. Look at that plane get jostled around. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That wasn't good. That was me overcorrecting. Good thing for those plastic props, they handle it just well. I could have probably picked a better day for this instead of a day with a lot of wind shear like this. This is interesting to try to do a tutorial in, but we'll get it right. Maybe use a little bit less flaps.
Flaps 50. Flaps up.
Or maybe try coming from the other direction. Yeah, there's a lot of shifting wind right now, so not to make a bunch of excuses, but sometimes wind is a big factor in how these things fly.
Full flaps.
Yeah, look at that balloon in this wind. And we got it riding on the ground. All you got to do is just a little bit of throttle control to keep the plane in a good descent, good glide slope. Get it down, and it will handle it pretty well, unless you're in very choppy air like this, in which case you could use crow to kind of power through it, because you'll have to use a higher throttle setting to fly with crow.
Full flaps.
Personally, I don't think we really need it today. It's not too bad. A little windy.
2 minutes.
We'll just skip that. We'll try some three-pointers next. Three-pointers are what most people are going to be comfortable with, especially when you give your plane enough throw to do them correctly.
Full
Throw is not something to be afraid of, guys. You can use Expo to tamp the plane's response down. So as you get a little further out there, you can pull back on the stick and stall it into the ground. It's a little challenging because the wind keeps shifting. It was coming from the front and then it turned around and came from behind. So it's turning around and do a proper like three-point landing. Get her out of that grass.
Flaps up.
So three-point really is all about just holding your, you can hold the angle of attack you want with the elevator and just kind of use the throttle to bring it in, and then yank the elevator back until the plane stalls into the ground and lands on all three wheels. And you want to ideally do this right above the ground. Kind of like this.
Flaps up.
See how light that impact was? And I mean, maybe it seems like a hard impact, but the gear are designed to take it, guys. This plane has great gear. There's really no reason why you have to break it if you can land it right.
3 minutes.
Get a little bit of one-wheel action in there. Turn it around with the rudder and a little bit of contrary aileron. drop the flaps. We'll do another 3-pointer. You can even do it without throttle if you want, but I like to hold the angle a little bit. Get into the grass. Another thing those nice bush wheels are good for is getting the plane through grass.
Flaps 50.
Let's get her on the front wheels here.
Flaps up.
Do a quick hammerhead to turn around. She's definitely getting affected by a little bit of wind shear out here, some turbulence. Although wind shear is a type of turbulence, it's a much more dangerous version of it. Regular turbulence isn't so bad, but when you get shear, these models can easily get slammed into the ground. If you've ever noticed your plane sinks really crazy, that's wind shear. That was a turbulent landing, not so great.
50.
But you guys can see my hand movements, like, and look at my elevator input here. It's killed the throttle. That's how much elevator I'm using. 150% rates, as much as I can possibly get on every surface.
Throttle open.
And I use a little bit of expo. Let's go over the expo real quick. You guys can see my screen. Aileron is 40% expo with 150% rates. Elevator is 65% expo with 150% rates, and rudder is 65% expo.
4 minutes. Flaps up.
Quick one-wheel takeoff. It's not a hard plane to fly, guys. Honestly, like it does take a little bit of finesse and kind of like thinking a little differently sometimes. But once you've got it kind of worked out, it comes in really gentle. Now let's try crow.
Full flaps.
Now you're going to see immediately that I need to use a bit more throttle to keep it coming in stable. I'm using a mix on this to give me more aileron input so that I don't lose the ability to roll the plane. Do a couple more crow landings. Crow can really help you fly in a tight spot. So if you can get crow set up, I would do it. And just follow my setup guide for that. It's real easy.
15.4 volts.
It doesn't take more than like maybe 10 minutes of work. And that's being generous with the amount of time.
Crow, full flaps.
So crow is the action of having the ailerons pop up as the flaps drop. Presents much more drag. Look at that. I kept it in 3-point attitude the whole way with crow. It was like no problem at all. Man, this thing is like just grabbing all sorts of grass. They finally got around to mowing again.
Flaps up. 5 minutes, 15 volts.
Just hold it in a knife edge real quick.
Crow, full flaps.
Turn it around, there we go. I actually like landing it with crow, especially in wind.
Flaps wing normal.
So I personally enjoy it. I think it works really well. But you guys can see with crow, you need to keep your thrust line, like not thrust line, but you need to keep your thrust applied.
15.2 volt. Flaps up.
And really just manage your sink rate with thrust and a little bit of elevator work. We'll go ahead and do another landing without crow to show you guys how that's done a little bit more for those of you who are still wondering.
Full flaps.
Full flaps coming in. Mine are like barn doors. I've extended them to 150%. That is a classic 3-pointer right there. And it comes in, like you don't even need reverse thrust when you land like that because it lands so slow, you basically destroy all the airspeed in exchange for the massive amount of lift you get at that last second.
Flaps 50.
Let's get her up with a...
6 minutes. Flaps up.
I was gonna try to do a one-wheel takeoff, but I just didn't think about it too well. Kind of did it poorly. That's okay.
Full flaps.
Really, it's not about showboating right now. It's just about showing you guys how to bring these things in. Most people are gonna be more comfortable with 3-pointers because it requires less work. And honestly, it's my preferred way to land too, although there is a nice charm to getting these things down on their mains. So if I can do that one more time, I will. I think my right wheel is kind of coming loose, but it'll be all right. So let's do a 2-wheel takeoff. Too much rudder, I ground looped it. It takes a little bit of finesse again. It's not the easiest thing to do.
Full flaps.
But there's a lot of reward, like you feel like you've accomplished something when you do it.
15.3 volts.
That was terrible.
Flaps
It's something
up.
you have to kind of constantly practice too to really get into the habit of it. Honestly, that's how I feel about it. I don't do it enough to really be as good at it as I should be. Like honestly, I think the last time I flew the timber was like a month ago, so this is really just me practicing right now and trying to get good.
Full flaps.
But I do like to show you guys my practice sessions too. Okay, we got wind shear right now. We're gonna just throttle out of that real quick and turn around, change directions. The wind completely shifted directions mid-flight. It was going one way and then went the other. Now it's really coming from the other side, so this might really help.
Full flaps.
It's always good to be cognizant of where the wind's coming from, guys. I'm gonna try my best to get her down here. There we go. That's not the best, okay? I'm not gonna pretend that I'm amazing at two-wheel landings, especially not when there's a lot of turbulence to deal with. But I will say it works. So let's go ahead and get her turned around. Show you guys what a stall takeoff looks like. Like if you really want a short takeoff.
Snap flaps.
That's all it takes. I use snap flaps and just full throttle, pull up, and then as soon as I leave the ground, just go again.
8 minutes.
A little bit of a slow roll that the plane was very unhappy about doing. Needs a little bit more thrust to do it right.
Full flaps.
Okay, now that the wind shear's kind of died off, we're gonna bring her in, try a two-wheel landing and see if we can cap it off here. Whoa, whoa. Okay, so it ended up turning into a three-wheel because I just don't feel confident that I'm going to keep the plane alive with some of these maneuvers. Sometimes the wind shifts so much in a small direction, in a small amount of space, that you end up with a wing dropping and cartwheeling or anything else, or you could face plant it too, and those motors do not like that. I've got many of them, at least 2 or 3 in reserve, but I don't want to have to use them, and I don't want to damage the model unnecessarily. So we'll go ahead and call it quits here. This is going to be part of a larger timber video that you guys will probably be watching as you can just scroll through or whatever. But for now, we're going to call it quits. Hopefully this helps out. And for those of you guys who are wondering how to 3-point and 2-point, the 2 points weren't that great, but the 3-pointers I thought were some of my better ones. So again, flying this model on behalf of Hangar 18 Hobbies here in beautiful Cary, North Carolina. If you guys have a chance, please stop by the shop, say hi to Brian, tell him John sent you. Pick up something cool while you're there. I just got it finished with demolishing the FMS A10 V1. They do have a V2 in stock. I would say get that one because they fixed most of the problems with it. Don't get a V1. Friends don't let friends fly FMS A10 V1s, trust me. We're gonna hand launch this bugger. Not even gonna go with safe, we're just gonna go straight vertical. Where we're going, we don't need runways. Yeah, the wind really kicked up, didn't it?
Only when you're flying.
Only when I'm flying, yeah. It's a kind of a constant. It's always been like this. Let's get her to go up an inverted flat spin / blender. Do some slow flying with it too. See how long we can keep her in the air until the wind shear knocks her down. Kick that nose around with some of the rudder.
Full flaps.
For whatever reason, the slower the model goes, actually not even for whatever reason, let's rephrase that. When the model goes slower, it is more susceptible to air currents. So if the wind really shifts right now, it's gonna just smash into the ground. So we gotta be very careful with how we fly it here. So far, it's not doing too bad. Guess we're not getting too much shear right now. There's some, it goes up and goes down. That's like what we call light chop. Not too bad. Until the plane sinks 10 feet in one go for no discernible reason other than turbulence hit it. Let's get another go, see if we can entice the wind shear god to screw with us a little bit.
Full flaps.
Drop the flaps, level the wings. There we go. You know what I haven't tried yet is trying to do flat turns with full flaps. Oh yeah. Getting some real slow flying. This thing's going like 10 miles an hour.
Flaps up.
Let's see if we can do flat turns with full flaps. That's something I haven't done yet. That'd be interesting to see if it can be done. We're gonna go up nice and high.
Full flaps. Flaps up.
So high up, it's kind of hard to tell what directions need to be corrected for. Let's try it again. Full flaps coming out. Yeah, definitely not something that I can do well, but I bet we can do it just fine. Yeah, without full flaps, it goes right into the flat turns. The second you add the flaps to it, suddenly Let's power up. Suddenly it gets a little wonky. The wind is really starting to howl behind me now. Let's make that, take an opportunity to put it upside down, put it into an inverted low pass. Oh yeah. You know, remarkably stable overall, I'd say. This is on a Z120C pack. Totally forgot to mention that, guys. Of course, we're doing a new thing with the channel where I kind of like voice over a lot of this stuff. Oh, that was a super tight hammerhead. Let's do that again. Not as good. Beginner's luck, I guess.
10 minutes.
See if we can get some touch and goes going here. We leave stuff behind us in this grass berm that we fly from a lot of the time, and it kind of tends to interfere with where we want to step and move. There we go. That thing almost came to a dead stop with one wheel with that wind. Whoa, 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 baby, come on back. Some of that was pilot error, some of that was wind. I couldn't believe how quick it stopped on one wheel. That was a really big headwind.
Full flaps.
Let's try that again. Oh yeah, look at that wind come in.
11 minutes. Flaps up.
Yeah, in the interest of safety with that wind being what it is, we're just gonna throttle out of that. Maybe do it without flaps, because it's the barn door flaps system that I've got set up in this thing. And what I mean by that is setting up the servos so that they can move the flaps out as far as it can physically travel is causing the plane to basically come to a dead stop while I'm trying to do one wheel touch and goes here. This is a little bit more manageable here. Got a scrapey. I love getting scrapies. That's always fun, especially when you got the electrical tape on the edge of the wing there so it can't damage it. Full speed snap roll. You know, it was more impressive when I had the 12x6 on there because I got more speed. That sucks. The 13x5, you get more low end thrust, but you get less high end speed. Whoa, like, that thing really dropped. Let's turn around. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what that was. The wind just caught us from where the plane dropped in the shear, and it turned around, and now the wind's coming from in front of me. This is probably a terrible idea. God, yeah. Whoa, whoa, whoa. This wind is crazy today, man. Whoa, more shear. This is not
14.6 volts.
doing what I want it to do.
Full flap.
Let's try crow. Let's see if crow can get it to come in nice and slow too. Oh yeah. That's crow. If you guys haven't seen it, flaps down, ailerons up.
Flaps up.
It's on a switch. I can turn it off or on at a whim. I have a bug eating my arm. 1 second, put it in safe.
Safe.
Oh, it's killing me. There we go.
AS3X. 14.2 volts.
Let's put it into another inverted flat spin.
13 minutes.
This is a fun model, guys. Like, really is. And I think Brian has a couple more of these at Hangar. So if you're a Raleigh native or you just live in the area, perhaps, I'd say swing by Hangar 18, pick up one for yourself.
14 full flaps.
It comes with the Avian ESC in it too, which is really good, but you do have to do a couple of mods to get it to not overheat. One of the things you can do is put the 13x5 prop on here, or sorry, 13x4, which helps out a lot. Really helps out a lot. Oh, dude, there's deer at the end of that runway. That's cool. Really helps out a ton to get the plane's cooling under control, because with the 11x7 3 blade and the 12x6 I was flying 2 blade,
14 full Full flaps.
it was really just kind of crazy.
14 minutes. Flaps up.
All right, let's do a real landing this time. Instead of this goofy attempts at doing one wheel touches when there's too much wind. I'm just gonna stand in front of it and we're gonna come to a reverse thrust stop right before it hits me. Tony, trust me, he's gonna stand right next to me.
Full flap.
We'll do it.
14.8 volts.
If I can't do it, we'll just fly overhead.
Thrust reversed. Engine not flaps up.
A little bit anticlimactic. I didn't get as close as I wanted to. But we'll take it. Got one more battery for this bird, so we'll take it up in a bit. But see the BEC, I left it on that screen so you guys could see how hot it got. If I throttle up a little bit, you'll see that it only, well, let's hold the tail so it doesn't move while we throttle up, so that the info displays. It looks like it's locked at 152. I don't know if that's actually accurate or not, but it's not overheating, so that's really the important thing here. We'll come back here in a little bit, guys. Thanks for watching. So unfortunately, my GoPro 7 chest camera corrupted the footage for this segment, so it's just going to be regular view instead of the stick camera. I hope you guys will enjoy anyway. There we go. That's a torque roll. Deeper in the roll. Come on, baby. A couple of good torque rolls. See if we can get her to do a high alpha knife edge pass. There we go. Like, this is one of the only ways this plane does Harriers well, is with a knife edge with like nearly full rudder. Up, make her do a knife edge spin, turn it into a blender if we can. Nice and high. Pop over, full rudder. Trying to wring out this last battery I got. Snap flat flip. I'm in my element with this plane. It's one of my favorites. It's one of the models I learned with. When I really concentrate, I stop talking, which is why it doesn't hurt me much. And honestly, I'm just trying to get the most performance I can get out of this model. All right, get you the turn, get some airspeed. I can get a slow roll finally. And then you get as good as Zach from Tail Heavy and do it without losing any altitude. I almost had that one. can do rolling circles in it. That's one thing I'm really bad at with this plane. All right, got a little too close to those trees over there. Not the best thing I've ever seen, but it's still pretty cool. If I can get it out of the air out of a hover, wipe my hands off. Out of all the stupidest ideas I've had, this is one of the stupidest ones because I can't really control the roll of this plane other than just doing my best to hold it stable. I can't get it to come near me, so we're just gonna not do that. So, like, it's just not stable enough for me. I don't have enough tail authority really to do this, so we're just gonna do the same thing we did before and just land right at ourselves. Tony, trust me, I'm not gonna hit him.
Full flaps.
Besides, all I gotta do is just go off the side of the runway here. That's a fun little model, man. It's been real, guys. I haven't flown this thing in a while. I really appreciate you guys for checking it out, of course. As always, E-flite Turbo Timber Evolution. Go hit hanger18hobbies.com, pick up one for yourself. And if you can't get it online for some reason yet, because they haven't finished the website maybe, go swing by and get it. You just have to. It's just too good to not get. See you guys again next time.